Welcome, everyone, to episode 141 of Talking Tottenham. Bucky, joined as always by Danny Shakes. You got a watch on there, Danny. You
You
doing
like
that
that
for
little
the
watch
people?
move I just did?
Yeah, I saw that. It was subtle, but it was also gleaming right in my eyeballs. So I figured I would have to call you on it. Welcome, everyone. We are live on YouTube. So really happy to have everybody on board here. Can't wait to interact. So, join up. Talking Tottenham Pod. If you search that in YouTube, not quite sure if you'll be able to actually pull us up at this point. We need to gain some leverage. Retweet, share, like, get all that good stuff going on TT Pod Coy's Twitter. I'm upbeat because I needed a new project, Shakes, to kind of get me over the hump or this lull or deep depression, as Linda calls it, surrounding Tottenham. And I thought the way to do that would to bring our ugly mugs to the forefront here. How are you doing? How are you doing on your video debut here, Shakes?
Just what the masses need, right, Bucks? To see our mugs now on the internet.
Yeah, it feels weird.
I think I'm better off tweeting pictures of like my baby girl in her Tottenham gear, as well as my son, as opposed to broadcasting myself. So apologize to everybody. What'd you do for Valentine's Day, Bucks?
Oh man, I had a nice night.
Okay.
Yeah, I made a.
See how quickly I can make you uncomfortable on live.
No, it's not uncomfortable. I mean, it is and it isn't, right? But I got a nice spaghetti, a nice turkey meat sauce because we're cutting. We're after American football season, so you need to be very much fat conscious at this stage. Obviously, not carb conscious, considering the vast amount of pasta that I was able to eat. So I got to tell you, it was fantastic. You gave me a tip for the sauce, which was just phenomenal. The tip of the sauce, tablespoon of sugar in there. This is from scratch sauce. I didn't actually smash the tomatoes myself, but I have to say it was a nice addition to it, and I had another leftover plate of it this evening, and it was fantastic. So thank you for that. What did you get into? I'm sure you guys were just hitting the town.
Well, you know how it is in COVID times, and with two children at 2 years and younger. Pretty much sushi by Uber Eats, brought to the doorstep with a dozen roses. So made it work this weekend. We had a third wheel in my son. He was not thrilled to be there for that dinner date, but just what we got to deal with right now, Bucks. We did get the in-laws, though, to watch the kids for like an hour and a half for us to go to like a brunch. That's the way it works now when you're a parent. You're scheduling time. Like, when can we go out? Well, apparently 10:30 to noon. That is our time slot. So 10:30 a.m. we got to go.
It's also scary because that's when a lot of the football matches are played.
Very true. Spurs, well, fortunately or unfortunately, I got to catch all of that on Saturday. This was Sunday because really that Man City game probably went like you and I thought it was going to go, unfortunately, along with a lot of supporters. And honestly, Bucks, I was kind of like not hating Spurs setup and play until the 23rd minute when I didn't think it really should have been a penalty. But, there was a route for that game to get to at least 0-0 at halftime. And then it's kind of goes down to adjustments, substitutions, and all that. But really just by the end of it, it was just Man City exerting their dominance over Spurs. And I guess the one silver lining there is they're doing that to everybody. They've now won 16 straight. So it's kind of tough to really be down on the team when you run into a juggernaut and they're playing like Man City of 2 and 3 years ago. But I don't know. What were your thoughts? Just like when you take a look and you're like, wow, 3-0 Spurs, they were never really in it. Man City had all the chances. Basically, it was 60-40 possession. Spurs had 3 shots on goal. I don't like reading the stat sheet. That's all I don't like.
It starts and ends with disappointment, but how can you really be disappointed when it was the exact result that you expected going into it? The thing I think I was most disappointed with was we had the one clear opportunity on the free kick early on, where if Kane labels that, which he did label that, just, unfortunately happened to bury off that post and deflect into no man's land. Lucas tried to get a little something going on the end of that, but wasn't able to. I felt like that was a stroke of death. I felt, honestly, at that moment, it happened so quickly, and it was an unexpected route by Kane. Caught Ederson off guard. I mean, everything kind of lined up there, and damn, if that would have gone in, do you think it would have had any bearing on the outcome of the game?
I mean, Spurs are better set up to play counterattack ball. I mean, Man City isn't used to playing from behind right now. So anything could happen there. But again, it's tough to say Spurs win that game. I mean, maybe you can scrounge out a point or something, but just Man City's been playing so well. It's just tough to kind of see how really anyone's getting points off them right now, unless they just get straight up lucky. But you're right. I mean, it's a butterfly effect. I mean, that's the 15th minute before Man City scores in the 23rd minute. I mean, Spurs weren't looking terrible at that time. They seemed organized, even though it was a lineup that you're not used to seeing. You had Ndombele playing further deep with Højbjerg. It's not like it was a 3 midfield monster with like Sissoko in there. So really what Jose was trying to do was play four attackers, I should say. You have Kane, but then it was like Lamela, Lucas, and Sonny. So really it was Lucas in for Sissoko. And just right off the bat, you're thinking like, if you're trying to match some firepower for firepower, it's just not going to work out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing, let's get to the pen call. I didn't see it. And you know what really kills me is watching the extended highlights there again today a couple of times. They just brush over the fact that the guy nicked Højbjerg first.
Nicked or like gouged him in the Achilles?
I mean, it could have been a straight up Achilles assault.
Like I thought it could have been a yellow on the other. On was it Gundogan?
I don't think so because he was a bit out of control. Both I didn't think at that point Højbjerg was out of control, which I think was the big difference there. I think Højbjerg was clearly going for ball, got nicked, and then Gundogan lost his balance a little bit after. The whole thing was a mess. And further to that point, I don't think it was a real goal effort. Meaning that boils down to Everton Jordan joining us. Thank you so much. Thank you kindly, sir. Yes, I do have lettuce. For those out there that are uninitiated, this is 13 months worth of lettuce underneath this hat. Talking Tottenham scarf there, brought to you by Everton Jordan. What a wonderful gift he got for Danny Shakes and I last year. Shakes, I don't see yours displayed, but you don't have much real estate on the walls between. Is that an original Picasso? Yes, it is.
Just
and then
original issue of the Wall Street Journal.
Well, next to the original Picasso. It's just you don't have much real estate.
No, that's the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Yes. Oh, okay. So like they took the floor out and they sent it straight to your wall. I get that.
No, an artist rendering of it.
Something like that. Yeah.
But actually my scarf's right there. I'm looking at it, but yeah, I should hang it up in a better spot now that you're like, hey, we're going to do this live, and kind of saw that about 10 minutes ago. So
I like the other scarf, by the way. I have that one on my wall right now. So nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it wasn't a pen for me. And VAR consistently gets it wrong. In that situation, I think it's a perfect opportunity to deem a referee mistake, right? Why did they have it in place? Because sure, there was contact in the box. It was called. Let's look at it. Let's make a judgment based on the actual visual evidence that leans the other way, which says, Højbjerg really didn't do too much wrong there, and it wasn't a clear goal-scoring attempt. So at that point, when he's sitting there on the goal line, parallel with it, he's not getting anything done there with the way that he was being shadow blanketed by Højbjerg. So in my opinion, it should have been wiped away, but I honestly, even without that goal, I don't think, and we'll talk about that because that pissed me off just as much. Rodri going in there, first time kicking a pen for him. That was strange. And then it was a terrible pen that Hugo has to get in front of. So the whole thing was a calamity of errors, and we look like the jokes that we've become. I mean, this is just Tottenham in the current state of affairs. We're just not evolving. We're not getting better. We're not learning from our mistakes. And I think the biggest thing that we will regret looking back at this year are simply, why do we have to get Højbjerg out there every game? We're so happy about getting Højbjerg out there. 2 games, 2 pens, questionable. But in the end of the day, with VAR in place, they're not called. To me, his sloppiness in those 2 instances, if you want to call it that, who knows? Or maybe just not being as fast as he once was. We don't have any depth for Højbjerg. We have nothing.
So are you making the statement that a fresher Højbjerg doesn't make that foul? Maybe.
Yeah, I honestly think fresher Højbjerg. Yeah,
you
like how I'm doing this as a scarecrow again. I'm going back to my roots.
Skip right now. On the substitution list, by the way, Winks just kind of sat there, didn't come on in. Sissoko came in the second half, really right at half, as Jose tried to it weirdly get more conservative when Spurs were down a goal. So that part didn't make sense to me. But I mean, I don't know, Bucks. I mean, I agree that I don't know what so far EPL has come out and said on this goal, but or on the allowing of the PK to be taken. It's just, it seems like you should be able to butterfly effect, go back and say, well, if the foul that was committed by Højbjerg actually, succeeded a foul by originally the other player, then you should be able to kind of go back that far. If you're allowed to go back for like a, let's say handball that happened 3, kicks before, or an offside before, then a build up again, it just feels like you can go further back on those types of situations. So why not in a foul scenario, like right at the box, right in that moment when it all happens in like less than a second? So I didn't agree with it either, but of course we're all Spurs supporters here, and no one's going to say that they thought it was deserved.
Well, 2 other things I think we're going to look back on and just kick ourselves for. One of them is still a net positive, I think, and that's Ollie Skip on loan, because he's just bossing the championship right now. And he will be our starting guy next to Højbjerg next year.
You think so?
I do think so. I do think so. Yeah.
I think he's in the rotation. I don't know if he's like starting 11, put him in.
I'm high on Skip. It's
I know
easy
you are.
to be really high on these guys that aren't currently sucking for Spurs, right? It's very easy. Skip must be 20, 21, 21.
No, I thought your running thing is he's like 34.
Well, he's 38, but he's he's like, they've manipulated the documents so that he's 20, but he's really 38. Like he's a reverse Benjamin Button. Or is he Benjamin Button? He is Benjamin Button.
He was pitching in Little League games like at 22.
Probably in the Little League World Series. Williamsport. Wonderful time. Did you ever make a journey to Williamsport?
I have not. I want to.
Oh, man. A lot of fun.
Pennsylvania.
It's kind of weird if you don't have a kid there, but I'm just saying I went when I was a kid. So
gotcha. Yeah. Well, I got to wait a few years before Camden gets out.
And I mean, I go back every summer by myself
to see family in addition to the Little League World Series.
Well, I stay with one of the host families. They welcome me as one of their own. It's a great time. Great food, great.
Do you play pass the hat when you're watching Little League baseball?
Yeah, we gamble the entire time. It's an absolute, it's a rousing festival of delight in terms of the gambling world, the drinks, beers being tossed. It's great. But Skip, he would be so crucial right now because we're missing that secondary holding player that can really make an impact. Winks hasn't been able to do it. Sissoko can't play that same role. And we're just stuck right now having to put Højbjerg in this situation, get match after match. And here we are. 2 straight games, 2 straight pens. And I know they were sloppy in terms of the calls themselves and questionable. But again, there's a part of me that just thinks this Viking, he'll say everything contrary to it. He's tired. And I think that's a difference.
Played every minute.
The other
every minute of EPL.
The other one for me that stands out, and this is a guy who has had success with Hoffenheim, is Ryan Sessegnon, right? So we have Ryan Sessegnon out there at Hoffenheim. He started, I think, 17 games for him, so he's been a big player. He's been hurt recently. What do we need right now with Reggie out? Speed down the left flank. Sessegnon could have fit that bill perfectly, yet we sit here, and it's like this. I understand young players, they need to develop, and to develop, they need consistent match play. But damn, it just seems right now, looking down, Harvey White's on a loan. Where do we go from here? How do we get through the next run of matches here in the end of February through the end of March? I have a lot of questions. There's sure to be another injury. I'll knock on wood. I'll drink my beers. That's what I do when I'm wishing for good luck. I always drink a beer. Shakes knows, but I had to demonstrate for the folks. That's why they add up.
Well, because a couple podcasts ago, Bucks, I had my hard truth segment. Not sure if you were a fan of it. I don't know if I should bring it back in future ones, but one of my hard truths was substitution wise, Spurs just aren't that deep. And it just feels like they're not deep in the right areas. So holding midfield, like you said, I mean, really, if Ndombele didn't play into being a more holding midfield type, and still even Jose is going to push him further up and try to have him play like a 10 or at the very least above like a Sissoko, Højbjerg, or whatever it is. Now that he's playing deep in like a 4-2-3-1 alongside Højbjerg, I mean, if that wasn't happening, I don't know what Spurs would be doing. I guess you're just forced to play like a Sissoko or Winks. Winks, who unfortunately is out of form, or Sissoko, who just, let's be real, against Man City, I think it would have been fine if you just started with Sissoko over Lucas. But in other matches, when Spurs should be able to carry the play and they're playing against not Man City or not Leicester or Liverpool or something like that, they should be able to put in another attacking player and try to drum up a little more chances. But I mean, it's crazy how, like, you take a step back and you look and it's just like, wow, we have no depth in that very specific position, especially when it comes to the style that Jose wants to play. And I think that's kind of like really been the story, where it's like Jose tinkers with these lineups. He tinkers with the formation. Suddenly Spurs are playing a back three. Maybe it's a 3-4-3 or a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. And it just feels like, however you want to circle and change these tactics or get to a different lineup, at the end of the day, you're just going to have Højbjerg in the middle, and you're probably going to put Ndombele next to him, and that's just it. Other than that, you're just trying to kind of fit the players that are the same players, maybe in a slightly different spot on the pitch, and that's just not really changing much for Jose. So maybe he will unlock that one day, and I don't know what it would be. I still think it just means Reggie and GLC have to come back in order for Spurs to really have a fighting chance for top four, for Europa, to do anything meaningful this season, because I just think the depth is just not there in that type of position. I mean, Spurs got attacking players for days. They're not delivering, but at least they got a bunch of them. And they actually got a lot of center backs, even though no one wants to step forward and be the starting pair.
I think what stands out to me would be Jose has this habit now of just yanking guys, right? And they're on the back burner. They're no more. Well, you can't just keep doing that if you have no depth, Jose. I'm sorry. He's Jose. He's Jose again.
Oh, boy.
I made that statement last pod. I need to be true to my word. He's Jose. We've regressed, Shakes. It's February 2020. The world has no idea what's about to go down in about a month. And I'm still calling him Jose.
I think we had an idea, February 2020, what was about to happen. I don't think we know the extent of it.
Correct. Yeah.
But it was a cloud looming over us for sure. But it is kind of funny to look back in hindsight and you're like, man, I hope this doesn't hurt Spurs' schedule for 3 weeks. So
I was man,
to look back at it that way.
I can't wait for Key West at the end of March.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to keep working out and look really good when I'm down there at Dante's pool parties.
It's like, my birthday's in March. I was like, I guess we'll have to cancel our reservations. We'll just push it back a couple weeks and we'll go to that restaurant then. It's like, yeah, if only I understood.
Yeah. And then I stopped working out. And then I stopped doing anything physical at all. And I stayed inside with a lot of alcohol.
Yeah, my COVID-20 is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's COVID-19, but I just upped it to 20.
I'm working through it right now. I'm trying my best to get it kickstarted, but spraining the knee wasn't a great start to the old exercise and diet routine. I'll be honest with you.
You did that back to back.
Yeah. So,
well,
it was a bummer, man. It was just a bummer of a match, and we were never in it. Besides that Kane goal, can you even recall any time where we had quite an opportunity to get a goal where it was even like a glimmer of hope? Because I don't recall any, and I might be off.
Aside from that, Lamela had an opportunity. I mean, none of them were glaring opportunities where Spurs should have scored, Bucks. I guess Spurs were just hoping to maybe nick one on a set piece, but just against a team like Man City that plays with possession, once they go up a goal, I just don't know how you come back from it. When they went up 2 goals, it was impossible. And really thinking about those 2 goals, and we got a couple questions about it. I've noticed in our comments. I mean, Hugo, I thought, could have stopped both of them. I really think the pen, it's a pen. It's tough. It's like you're guessing the right way. He sticks his arm out if he's strong enough, or hits it exactly on the angle of the ball, deflects away. Who knows what happens from there, but it just kind of kicked right through him. And then really that short side goal on the second goal that they had that really just put the game away. So then made the next 40 minutes after they scored in the 50th minute, just kind of irrelevant. You just watched it kick around, the ball, Man City. But I just felt like the cross was taken away. The shot to the far post was taken away. So really near post was pretty much all Gundogan could have done. And he just, for whatever reason, did not cover. And it just felt like a sharper Hugo at least stands his ground, kicks his leg out and makes the save with his feet, as opposed to kind of like he was caught in between two minds. It seemed like it went between his foot that he didn't kick out in time and his arm, which he didn't reach down in time. So I don't know. I saw a question about Gazzaniga being loaned out, and really just he did play well when Hugo was out and really had those mop-up minutes. I think he's better than Joe Hart, in my opinion. So, you're stuck with Hugo, and this is what it will be for the next year. He's still under contract next year, so I don't think Spurs make a move from their captain. I think he's still, unless it was just a complete drop-off in play, I think keeper is pretty set for Spurs, but I just think he's been in a rut, man, because the last 3 games were all goals that, sure, Spurs had other defensive lapses that led to the goal scoring opportunity, but Hugo could have bailed them out like he had in previous games this season.
But I don't even think either of those required a bailout. They just required a true save.
Yeah.
I mean, neither of those would have been all-world saves. They wouldn't have been on any highlight reel. It would have just been, you did your job well today. Thanks.
No, for sure. I mean,
and then if both of those are saved, and we're talking about this being a 0-0 game down the stretch, I think maybe we could have scrapped a little bit harder, but I don't think we had the horses in the midfield. I think we were totally dysfunctional once Sissoko came in, by the way. He was a shepherd without a flock out there. He had no clue where to be on the pitch. It showed on the Gundogan goal.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to Jose changing tactics that
the
time.
First Gundogan goal, that is.
Yeah, not the second where got it. We'll pick that one apart in a second, but
yeah, sure we will.
I just think it's just Jose with his tactics. I'm on board with his tactics when it's like you said, the continuity of the team, play it through, like keep the same players in for like a couple games in a row. Let's see what we got, and then also let's not change the formation like we did against Brighton at halftime, or like we're doing against Man City at halftime. It's just that's where just no good results could come from that. It's like the team's good, but they're not great. So to expect them to change a formation on the fly at Man City, that's tough. And they actually had to do it against Liverpool too, but that one was, Kane getting hurt forced their hand. So, you think back to these last few games, it's like to make those types of tactical changes at halftime, team's just not equipped to kind of take that, run with it, and suddenly just put up some goals. It's tough to score as much as it is right now for Spurs.
Yeah, it's like if things are already falling apart, why do we just completely like restructure a knee, right? Like there's a knee that is operating and it's still functional, but it's not optimized. It's not optimized. So all of a sudden, Jose's like, "Oh, fuck this. We're going to a prosthetic. Let's roll. Let's get the prosthetic on there."
You don't want Jose as your doctor or surgeon, right? Just like mid-fly, he's just like, all right, we got him opened up, but I think we're going to go this route instead. Yeah. That's not what you want.
He's the guy who always marks the wrong knee prior to the surgery. You ever had a major surgery on like
no, thank God. No.
So they always, when it's your knees, they always put like a giant X on the one that is not the knee that they're going to perform surgery on.
Okay. So see, I've been even asking that question. I'm like, so is the X the knee that does need to be cut or the one that doesn't need to be cut? Just to make sure.
Because Jose only speaks in X's and O's. He simply just marks everything X and just goes to town.
See, I picture him though, like mid-knee replacement. Like, let's try this new device. Let's do that. Like, I know we were going to go with the striker model to replace your hip, but let's go with this thing instead.
I actually went with the DeWalt chainsaw for this one. People never call me an old school surgeon, folks. They call me Jose, and I'm coming in with a chainsaw and I'm destroying your club in a year and a half.
No.
That's how I feel right now.
You do feel that way?
I mean,
his presser wasn't as bad this time around, but
but I'm sick of his shit.
He's like, I'm doing what I can with the cards that I was dealt. It's like, okay,
he can't keep saying
no one's faced injuries or adversity ever at any other team.
We have injuries, but despite that, we've had at least the ability to throw out some bit of continuity and structure lineup wise. He refuses to do it. It's a carousel on the back line. He tries these different ideas match to match. We didn't have this with Poch. We'd have 3 or 4 games with the same 4-2-3-1. He would vary it from time to time based on injury, but also based on giving players blows. And then he would get with kind of that marksman 3-4-3 type of thing where he saw spots. But there was continuity throughout the entire time.
Yeah.
Jose gets shakes. 1 second. Jose gets pissy in the press, and he feels like he has to act on his words. And there he puts himself into the box. He's like the worst repeat offender of this thing where I made this statement for a reason and I got to back it up. I'm not so sure he trusts what he's saying in the pressers because it's all over. One game, he's Uncle Jose, who wants to be everybody's friend. Everybody's trying hard. The guys just played 120 minutes on Wednesday. They're beat up. They're playing the best team in the league. All totally fine to say. But it goes back to your first point about the lineup and how he set this going into the match. We didn't set up to park the bus and just do our game. If we would have done that, it would have looked differently to me. I don't think we would have rolled out the guys that we rolled out there.
Yeah, I think the obvious change would have been Sissoko does start, even though you're right, it looked a lot more disjointed, but probably because Spurs were being asked to play more open in the second half when Sissoko did come in this game. But I just thought for sure we'd see Sissoko start, and it would be like a back six. Basically, him and Højbjerg plugging the gaps along the wings or in between the wings and the center backs, and then Ndombele there as the release valve, and then have Son, Kane, Steve do their things. Lamela starting wasn't too surprising because I still have this theory that he plays well when he's the starter as opposed to someone who comes in, and it doesn't seem like he gets a feel for the game that way. So I don't like him coming in for 20 minutes at the end. I'd rather him come in or start for 55, 60 minutes. But really quick to go back to your Poch versus Jose thing. I mean, when you had Poch switching it up or doing like a 3-4-3, it's like he had Dave, who just came over, who was still at that point playing with a ton of confidence, along with Dele playing with a ton of confidence. You have Toby and Jan, who at that point, best pairing in the EPL. You have Rhodes, who's a top 5 back. You have Trippier, who's playing great, replacing Kyle Walker. Eriksson in the middle. And then also you have Harry Kane and Sonny up there. So it's just, that team waxes this team that lost to Man City.
Oh my God.
Like they kicked this team's ass. So that's the part where I always try to look at it in that lens with judging Jose. Sure, he can be an absolute dick, and some of the stuff he says or does not make sense, and then he further confuses you in the presser after. But he is not working with the same deck that Poch had. I mean, Spurs in like 2017, like that was a juggernaut team. That team should have won the league. That's really just what that boiled down to. But you know, it's tough now to look at it because it does suck that there's a lot of the same players on the team. You know, granted, some have moved on, but you know, you saw Dele come in as like an also ran, and he just like kind of wandered around like he did against Everton. And maybe that is the continuity that Jose is trying to put out there now. Like, okay, I'm going to give Dele a run. I'm going to give him like 3-4 games. Here we go. Maybe he'll play himself back into Dele Alli, or at least 70% of what Dele was. So maybe he's trying to do that. Maybe that's why he also had Bale come and run around, because really it's just, I think he's got to realize it's not so much the formation and tactics, Bucks. He's just got to get his better players to play good. Like Steve just needs to start scoring goals. All right, let's start playing Steve more. Bale needs to get more into form. Maybe he just needs to come in. So I actually wasn't upset when Spurs had already lost this game in the 51st minute. You know, this game was over. Like at that point,
we expected a loss though. So I don't think
like
we
at that
been
point,
upset.
but at that point, then to bring in Dele and Bale, I'm not against it. You know, take off Ndombele in the 64th minute. He just played a full 90 plus against Everton midweek. And now he's going against Man City. Get him off the pitch, keep healthy, let Dele run around, get Bale in there for 20 minutes. You know, I don't hate that. And then Steve got to rest as well. So that's why I think Steve's going to be involved in this Europa match, because he's coming in fresher. So I just think it's as simple as whatever it is, like getting it in on the training pitch, getting it in gameplay. You just got to start getting these guys to where they can make some meaningful contributions. Because for whatever reason, Jose doesn't have Dele from 2017. You know, I know why he doesn't have Gareth Bale from 2017. He's just older. But still, you got to get something out of him. And then Steve's just got to start finishing too.
See, I just felt like we needed to set up with the park the bus that worked the last time. It should have been Højbjerg Sissoko. And considering the 2 hours of play that we had to endure against Everton, 2 hours plus, or excuse me, 1 hour plus. No, it's 2 hours. Is it 120 minutes?
Yeah, 2 hours.
It's late, Shakes. I mean,
the reason it should have been Højbjerg Sissoko is because it fucking won 2 months ago.
Well, that's my point. You do
won the
that.
game.
You do that. Why not just see what Dele can do? in the middle. Why don't you see what that Delhi Kane Son looks like?
I think that will be another. He'll do that lineup again, and it'll look a lot different because it won't be Man City they're playing against Bucks. I guarantee you, Jose looked at it and was thinking like, well, Lucas just comes back more, presses, works his tail off. He'll do far more on that defensive end than Delhi. So for that reason, I'm not playing Delhi. So even in that 4-2-3-1 mindset, he went back or reverted to conservative Jose.
Yeah, but you could have had Son and Lamela both tracking back, or you could substitute Lucas for Lamela there. I don't really care how that looks. Well, but all three of those players will track back and provide that support that allows that Delhi King combo. My whole point of going back to Poch was Poch never dogged anybody publicly. Yet you have this ping pong match of Jose versus Jose. That's him versus his alternative self, Jekyll and Hyde type shit. That's what this is. He says one thing, he has to act on the other. But then, even though Delhi did not play well in his last two appearances, he still just throws him out there. And it's like, if you're going to keep throwing shit at the wall, let's start with the shit that was already on the wall the last game and see if we can build on this, get some wear and tear on Delhi's legs because they're fresh as hell. Things are like 2 brand new chocolate chip cookies, man. Right out the oven. Miss Fields. Otis Spunkmeyer shakes. What do you know about Otis Spunkmeyer?
Nothing. What are those?
Oh, man. Otis Spunkmeyer.
I don't know. I don't like cookies. I don't eat a lot of cookies.
You don't eat cookies?
Nah.
You're being serious?
Yeah, I like salty snacks more. I'm a potato chip guy.
Damn, you don't like cookies. I learned something.
I don't hate them. I'm just saying, never do I think to buy cookies.
Fake injuries and you hate cookies. This is week by week.
Fake injuries.
You are an onion, and I'm just peeling you back day after day, trying to get to the very bottom.
I don't dislike cookies. I just don't ever think to.
So
I got me backtracking.
As a kid, you didn't go to like. Did you have like a big like a batting cage area that also had arcade games and a celebration station type thing?
Sure.
Yeah, celebration station. You got the bumper boats, you got the mini golf, you got the batting cages, go-karts. Yeah, they always had Spunkmeyers on deck, man. Otis Spunkmeyer, they get you had like this little oven. It's like this little Spunkmeyer oven branded. And then you just throw the cookies from the freezer straight into that bitch. And it is
terrible. So a heat lamp at a carnival heats up a frozen cookie.
We've got a few people watching. Comment if you've had an Otis Spunkmeyer and just basically.
That doesn't sound good. That sounds as bad as like pretzels at the sporting events. Terrible too.
Why would you get a pretzel at a sporting event? The go-to move is just nachos with the shitty cheese. That's the only move. Yeah, because that the cheese doesn't need to be fresh.
I'm a roasted peanuts guy. But that's back to my salty snack over the sweet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I ever get sweets unless it's Dippin' Dots. Dippin' Dots from a ball game.
Dippin' Dots do kind of rule.
Dippin' Dots rule when they get a little melty.
The banana split Dippin' Dots.
Oh, hell yeah. That's when you knew you hit it. When you wanted to flex on all your other 9-year-old pals, you'd come at them with that B split mix. They would have no clue how to react if you came at them with a banana split. I was always just chocolate vanilla, to be honest with you.
I don't know why, but I think it always was chocolate, vanilla, or banana split. Like not strawberry, I always remember that as the third flavor.
Boom. Everton Jordan have eaten. They are great. Everybody who's anybody knows a Spunkmeyer when they smell one. Hot and ready's. It's like it was the first hot and ready model. But that's what Delhi is. Back to the thing.
He was hot and ready?
No, he wasn't hot, but he was ready.
Was he? Well, he might have Instagram or tweeted it. I'm ready to go in. Delhi, 58th minute.
I'm just saying we have to build continuity, and that's our biggest issue. We'll get into the listener questions here after I let Shakes kind of rant about that last goal where
did you like the picture I sent where I circled Dyer like just loafing over on the left-hand side, like marking no one?
But Dave,
but it's on Dave still. He's just got
pulled a pure swan dive on that thing.
He just lost control for a second. He just freaked himself out. I don't know what else to say, Bucks. It's just you're a professional, and Dave 3 years ago doesn't make that mistake. He like clears it no problem. So just goes back to watching Delhi play poor. I mean, like Dave should be starting center back on Spurs. Like when he came in and everyone thought Toby was either going to get transferred out or his contract was an issue. Then he got hurt. Remember, he hurt his groin or hamstring. it was just Dave on the right, Jan on the left, and Spurs were great. They didn't skip a beat. It just looked like Dave was Toby's replacement. If anything, you're like, wow, Toby was great, but look how fast this guy is, and look at him just dominating the air. And now it just feels like he's some guy that maybe came up in the academy and he tries to get some spot starts here and there, and he's got some raw talent, but he just can't seem to put it all together. It's almost like Dave's 2017-18 seasons like didn't happen. And it just feels like it's like we're just starting. It's very similar to Delhi. And again, that goes back to like the Poch team versus the Jose team. It's like, and this would have been anybody, like if it was not just Jose, but any coach inheriting Spurs. It's like, man, what happened to Dave? What happened to Delhi? What happened to Danny Rose? Just go down the list. Even like Erickson wasn't playing great before he left. So I just think it's just such a play where it really encapsulated, I thought, just where Dave was and where Spurs are. You just have an individual effort play that just didn't work out for you. It leads to this huge mistake that just costs you. I mean, the game was already done, but just cost you further, I guess, on goal differential.
And knowing that you're going to be mean.
It's just like an extra just salt in the wounds, kick in the teeth, whatever you want to call it. But
he's been on all sorts of memes that have been awful.
Oh man, there's the way he like kind of stumbled over his feet. It was a little shove, but it was a professional shove by Gundogan. I mean, it was just well done by him, and he's just playing tremendous. He's like best player on their team. That's the thing with Man City. I remember us talking when it was Spurs Man City in Champions League, and I was like, I think Bernardo Silva might be their best attacker right now. It's like it just rotates for them. Yeah. Now just out of nowhere, Gundogan's like, hey, instead of just being a holding mid, I'm just going to score all the time now. Like De Bruyne is gone, so.
And then David Silva would do the same shit.
Yeah. He's like 90.
Yeah, it was at least 90. Yeah.
It's Sterling, I don't even remember Sterling doing much. He had his hand in the second goal, but it wasn't like he was streaking down the side constantly. Didn't feel like he was, the biggest thorn in Spurs side. No, I like it better when they play Mahrez, but they didn't do that till later.
So I actually thought Dave, aside from that play, he was crucial in blocking.
Actually, he didn't have a bad game. He didn't.
And then even after that, he bounced back. I think it was in like the 87th minute where they had a pretty clear shot attempt, at least it looked like. But Dave kind of squandered that with a very athletic move where he kind of like skipped right in front of the defender in the ball, or the attacker in the ball. So Dave, aside from that play, didn't play terribly. That gets us into men of the match for me. Number one, Jaffa Tanganga, leads us to my guy, Bob Larman. Robert, you've been with us for so long. Glad to have you on the YouTube, man.
Hey, Bob.
So what did y'all think about Tanganga? I thought he looked great. Hopefully he can continue to produce over the next couple of weeks. I had him as my man of the match. I think he was the only player that I saw consistently in the right spot, and he made some good plays. I think his athleticism and his smarts, just his defensive nature, they're great for us right now, because I think he brings maybe not the same level of athleticism as Aurier. Possibly he doesn't have the same license to roam, to run down that wing yet. Maybe that'll be brought in through more experience. But as far as defensive positioning and just instincts, I think that's our guy moving forward. And I think we'd be silly at this stage to just say, Serge, it's yours. I believe that Serge is the better player. However, I think we have a gem with Jaffa Tanganga, Bob. I think he is the future, as far as I'm concerned, for that defensive back line.
It's not like things are going great with Serge in it right now, so you might as well switch it up and start playing Tanganga for that run of games, like you're saying, Bucks. Get that continuity, show him in the starting 11 for how many ever games in a row, see what he can do. And I didn't even know we were supposed to do our 3 men of the match. I didn't even pick. I mean, I guess give me the sack, Tanganga. Give me Ndombele, just because he had to deal with that dumpster fire.
Because he was there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God. And then I'm going through the lineup. Oh, I guess I'll give it to Sonny, because he played the entire match against Everton and then played the entire match against Man City. And he's still making runs in the 90th minute. So that seemed kind of pointless by Jose, but I guess we didn't have enough substitutes. So you had to get LaMelo a rest, but not Sonny. Anyway, I love Tanganga. We've talked about this enough. I think he's also very utility in that he could play a left back role. He could play even a right-sided center back role. We don't trust him to do that yet. With that said, it's not like, we mentioned earlier, it's not like the other 4 guys have done much to really show that they have a stranglehold on the starting position for Spurs.
You don't say, huh?
But I mean, right side, I mean, the Doherty thing, I guess we're just chalking it up as it's a miss. It was just a bad signing. Like, I don't know, like, what's going to come from this when, Serge is out, Tanganga starts over Doherty. Doherty was a substitute listed here, but I mean, I don't think Tanganga played poorly to where I would then say, let's switch it up and try back to Doherty. We already kind of know what that is. So if Serge is still injured or, in that weird quasi doghouse with Jose still because he just drove away from the pitch one day during a match, then I don't know how it's not Tanganga's. And he might have a couple growing pains, but I feel like you can allow the 20-year-old to have the growing pains, not so much Doherty, the 28-year-old. So, I mean, that also goes to my Rodin mistakes. Like when he makes a mistake, it's a little different than Dave, who's been on the team for 4 years starting, with over 100 starts for Spurs. So I just think if you're going to improve the squad, you got to give the young guys some looks, because if the old thing's just not working over and over, it's just the definition of insanity bucks. You're not going to get a different result. So I'm in on Tanganga. I think there's a world where you could see Tanganga on the right, Reggie on the left, Joe in the, and then Joe and either Dave or Toby. I guess, Toby could be the oldest guy by like 8 years on that back line.
That's
if Rodin starts. Yeah, I mean, it could get super young quick for Spurs on the back line, which I'm sure only gives Jose heartburn, because let's be real. He can say he likes playing younger guys all he wants, but he likes playing like young, like savant players, not like gritty academy grads, over like the old veterans. So that's out of Jose's comfort zone to suddenly just start him 3 out of the 4 guys under 22 years old.
Let's get him Freddie a deal.
Yeah. He's probably older now.
Yeah, I think he's still balling. He was with the Rowdies, who are the cap I'm wearing. He was with them for a little bit. Yeah. I think he only played in like 2 matches.
I'm wearing a golf club I played over in Costa Rica.
Oh, this is my guy right here. Robert, same page. Before
Look at that. Live, just as we were talking.
In our text messages, Shakes can vouch for this. I said this was the back line right here. Reggie, Rodin, Dave, Tanganga.
How old's Reggie? Now I got to look this up.
I think Reggie's like 23.
So I don't know who's older, him or Dave, but yeah, basically they're all under 24 years old there.
Am I correct there? He might have that young charm like me, because I'm 48.
He just turned 24 in December.
So he's 24.
So he'd be the old man in that group.
Well, it would just be fast. And I think Rodin is disciplined enough, but he brings athleticism that neither Dyer nor Toby does. Dave, probably the most athletic of the group of center backs. Reggie obviously has that. And then Tanganga. Let's see what he has. We need help on that right side. And as far as I think being the most disciplined and athletic set, I think this is what it is. And I would love to see this once we get into a situation where Reggie is healthy. Let's throw this out there. Look, we're not going for the league. Let's figure out if this works, because right now this constant rotation of different faces is not working.
Do you think there's any pressure? By the way, I was wrong. Dave would be the oldest out of that group. He was born in June, whereas Reggie December. So 24, though, would be the youngest. Tanganga, 21 in March, turns 22. But do you think there's pressure at all on Jose by Levy or just anyone at Spurs that say, look, we just re-signed Dyer and Toby, like literally this year, re-signed both of them to long-term contracts, and now they're just going to be buried on the depth chart? I think just, hey, this is the situation, deal with it. But I always wonder if that plays a part at all. Like, I'm sure now you have these long-term assets that just are going to be, I don't even know what you do with them. You're already killing their value because they're not playing. And then when they do play, they're not getting enough games where then probably their mistakes stick out more than their accomplishments. So that's part of it. I'm sure the thought was Dyer, Toby, here we go. They're going to be our back line. And then they get signed to 4 or 5 year deals or whatever it is. Dyer obviously still a lot younger than Toby, but I don't know. I feel like if it's a meritocracy, if the younger guys are outplaying them, then they need to get the start.
I've always been a meritocracy guy.
Yeah, I felt like that's what was working for Spurs in the fall and going into the winter. It felt like, even though Doherty, now we know these things, but Doherty comes in, he gets the start, but then Serge outplayed him in the training ground. Next thing you know, Serge is getting the starts against, the big games, the Man U's, the Man City game the first time. And whatever other games it was, Arsenal.
Any successful business, any successful department, totally outside of football, if it operates on a meritocracy, the results are usually better despite people having butt hurt all the time. Sure, getting promoted if you're a younger employee and all of a sudden you're managing folks that have been there for 15 years, that's going to cause a stir. And it's the same thing here. But guess what? It's either sack up, do your job, or get beat out for it. That's what this is. You want the promotion, you want to be in that starting 11. If you don't cut it, you just don't cut it. And right now, what we've seen has led me to believe that the pastures aren't greener with Dyer right now. He's back. He's on the street corners again, man. He's not selling drugs, but he's selling smiles.
He knows a few dealers. He might point you in their direction. And
yeah, like he'll be hospitable. He'll be hospitable. I mean, he won't be like a narc or anything like that. But for the most part, Dyer's out there like he's got a 6-string and an accordion, and that's all he's got right now.
Barely in tune.
Yeah, but he is looping those, so it's a really weird. It's like a combination of
like a symphonic thing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah, it's not like the Kenosha Kickers or anything like that. But he's trying to work his way up.
I think also the conundrum, because Jose does like his left side, right side, center back, just like Poch did too, is Dave seems only to be a right-sided center back. Like, I don't think you're playing Dave ever on the left side. You can maybe play him in the middle in a back three, but for that reason, I really think it's like he'd rather do Toby on the right as well. So it's like if you move Toby to the left and play him with Dave, fine. But otherwise, I still think Toby needs to be heard from here. Like, there will be those games where it's just Spurs are going against blazing speed on the wings of the other team. Then maybe just Toby's a problem, and that would cost Spurs. But I just feel like it's Toby on the right and then fill it in on the left. Well, it can't be Dave because he can only play on the right. So then you got Roden, you got Dyer. I just think when you have Dyer with Toby, it's just then too slow. So now I feel like that makes me talk myself into Roden and Toby. So if it's a rotation, fine, but just give me some sort of semblance of a pairing. Like, all right, I know if it's Toby on the right, I'm going to get Roden on the left. And then if it's going to be Dave on the right, then he's going to be paired either with Dyer on the left or Toby on the left, or even Joe. But I just think Jose looks at that back line when it's all the young guys, and even though that looks maybe fun, it just gives him heartburn. He's like, I can't start Roden and Dave together. That'd be crazy.
It doesn't look fun to him. He's terrified of it.
Yeah, that's scary as shit to him. That's like a nightmare scenario for him.
But I think for us as fans,
that's what we want to see.
The thing that gives us hope, because at least I think you and I have done a good job accepting reality quickly.
For sure. We were never winning this league. Come on.
But I mean, you
come on.
Just don't go listen to pods from November.
Yeah, don't line what I said. Line them all the fuck up.
Yeah, line them the fuck up, Shakes.
Yep. Yeah,
good Lord. Yeah, that was bad. That was ugly. But you were right. We were ready to line them up at that point.
We were
all right, folks. Let's pivot into our listener questions here. If you are tuning in live on YouTube, folks, you can find us on Twitter at TTPodCoys. You will find the link to our YouTube there. When we go live, we'll be posting that. If you are currently viewing and you have some questions, please bring them to the table. We will make sure we address them here on this episode. We'll start here with Ian Ferguson. You kind of mentioned this here. When Hugo was out for the long stretch last season, I think Gazzaniga played fairly well. Do we just move on from Hugo next season and go out for somebody in the summer, or bring Gazzaniga back?
Do you want to comment on this, since I already kind of did? I think Hugo stays. He's still the captain. He's getting older, but by goalkeeper years, at 34, I think you can still get 2-3 more years out of him. It'd be interesting to see, like, when the contract gets close to up, if it is one of those depreciating assets where do you let him just play it out, or do you actually like to transfer him out? Usually things don't run to the end of the contract unless maybe he's like, oh, I want to leave on a free and go back and play for Nice, or wherever he's from there. But I don't see it changing, because he's been such a pillar for Spurs, been here since 2012. He's got 283 appearances for the squad. I mean, yeah, he's having a bad, run of games, but so is like every player on the squad this year. So until it becomes an absolute pandemic, terrible pun, in this kind of climate, I don't think you're going to see Spurs move on from him. And if anything, signing Joe Hart, who's also very old and really not a number one, and then letting Gazzaniga go shows Spurs really just don't see doing any sort of changes either. They would have kept Gazza if that was the case.
I think something that's important to keep in mind here is that Hugo has always had these kind of runs of 2 or 3 games where there's some balls that are let in that it's just not normal, right? We don't know if he's 100%. Maybe he has something lingering there. You don't throw Joe Hart in against Man City. You can't do that considering what we've seen from Joe. This is with all due respect. He's had some real stinkers there, even in the small Europa matches, right? He's been burned on some things. I mean, look at the Marine play. When the ball went off the post and he could have easily popped it over. And then he popped it over, even though he could have just caught the ball.
Oh, my God. That play by Joe Hart.
Second part of that was that Gazza, for me, he's not a starting Premier League.
No, it would just be Spurs. What you'll see, and I
love Gazzaniga. I love his eyeballs.
Love his Instagram. His Instagram is talent.
I don't know how these guys with long hair, like I have, how do they keep it straight? Like mine just looks like a frizzled mess all the time.
Also, it seems like the right side is like way longer than the left side. Or is that just
optical illusion, man?
Got it. Well, my half-ass internet research bucks just now, his contract runs out in the summer of 2022. Also, according to this, he's unlikely to prolong his stay. Take that for whatever. Who knows where I just read that from? But that would make sense in the in that he'd be mid-30s at that point. We're talking like going on 36. Is he looking to just retire, or is he looking to maybe get to one more? Yeah, go to France, play it out there, get one more World Cup if he can. And that must mean Spurs this summer will be looking to bring in a keeper. That's just what that has to mean. It's not going to be like Joe Hart's the solution. So I think what you'll see is Spurs look for in keeper world, it's when you say younger keeper, it's not like a 24-year-old. It could be like a 26, 27-year-old. Sure. But maybe they'll look for a keeper in that range, either in the championship side or just somewhere else. They're not scared to go foreign, but I know they do need to get some local. Well, they just need to get more local players, I think, is also, one of the things there. So
I say we get Gianluigi Donnarumma.
Okay. He's foreign though. Yeah. But that'd be cool.
Maybe we just go Brandon Austin, the young gun.
What is Ramsdale? How old is he?
Ramsdale's pretty young. I think he's like 23 or 24.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there might be a team that's going down too, that it just wasn't the keeper's fault. Just the whole team sucked. But either way, Spurs are going to sign someone this summer.
They have to.
Yeah. That's just what it'll be. That person will play behind Hugo, probably get promised, like, you're going to get all the FA and Carabao Bang Energy Cup games and, other spot starts here and there. And then the keys get turned over in the 2022. That's grand plan. Obviously,
I agree.
Things don't work out to plan always, but
so Ian,
that's how it works.
In summary, we feel that it is something we need to address. No, I don't think Gazzaniga is the answer there.
I think Ian got it. You didn't have to summarize it for him.
I'm a big summarization guy.
Ian gets it.
At the end of every email.
Don't talk down to Ian.
You just got to summarize for my guy. Shakes, who are you? Oh, Lord. Big White Hart Lane comes at us with 2 questions.
Not my third bourbon, Buck. Sorry.
Shakes, you son
getting a little testy.
I'm telling you what, man. You mansplaining me one more goddamn time.
You were the mansplainer there.
No, I was a summarizer. I was a summarizer.
Trying to articulate to your brain. Yeah. Love it.
At least you're not as manic as you were last week. We have that going for us.
God damn. Apologize to everyone. I was on tilt.
Yeah, you were on tilt, Shakes.
It's rough.
I can get you Linda's number. She does video conferencing. Okay. Big White Hart Lane. Do you think changing our backline every game is contributing to us being porous? Well, Big White Hart Lane, my guy. Yeah. Yes. I think it's definitely contributing. As if you listened up to this point, you will know that that's exactly how we feel. We have to find some continuity. I think we have to build for the future. We're in a final. My hope, look, if we throw out Toby and Dave, we get killed in that final, in my opinion. So let's figure out what works. If we throw out Dyer and Dave, that gets killed. You throw out Dyer and Toby, take those 3 goals, turn them into 5. That's how I feel about it. We have to figure it out. So we need to start building now so that by the point we face them in April, we have some like piss in the wind chance against that club.
Remember when we had the conversation, would you rather play because they're moving the Bang Energy Cup final, which normally is like what, December, January, and it's just done basically before FA Cup comes back into our lives. But they wanted to have fans that, give them the opportunity, even though it's not looking good right now, but to attend in Wembley. So we were like, would you rather play Man City right now? And this is when Man City was like an 8th or whatever it was, or wait until April. And we were like, oh, let's just wait till April. We'll get fans in the stands. And, if there's any supporters there, that'd be great. Now I'm like thinking like, oh, that was a terrible decision.
Yeah, but that we could have been like the first game of the ascent. So I'm okay with where we look right now. But I'm saying by that point, I do think we need to build something at the back that we can rely on and that we're confident in, because right now, the ever shifting lineup game, we might as well, we need to stop giving our 11s.
We need to go through stop. We need to go through all the past matches now where have we seen every combo except Dave and Joe? I think that's the only. Have we gotten Joe and?
We might have gotten Dave and Joe in Europa game.
Oh, we might.
No, not a Europa, a Carabao game. I don't know.
Oh, you're right. We might have. But
who knows?
Against,
I don't care. It's one game. I want consistent run of matches here. Big White Hart Lane. Second question: is Jose's tough love approach just too much for the mental fortitude? I edited the question, but I feel disingenuous, so I will say this. This is the question from Big White Hart Lane, who is a ruthless man. Is Jose's tough love approach just too much for the paper-thin mental fortitude of our player?
Old school.
Yes.
Big White Hart Lane.
Yes.
Probably. Is that the answer? I think that is. I mean, we're millennials, Bucks. We're very thin-skinned. Who do you think's more thin-skinned, me or you?
I think we're both equally thin-skinned on different points. Like for you,
interesting. Okay.
For you, it's more about like your lot in life and keeping up with the Joneses.
It's a status thing for me. That's where I get all fired up.
Your mother-in-law, when she challenges you, like you get thin as hell there. For me, it's like it's things about. It's the opposite. Why don't you have a mother-in-law? Why can't you keep a consistent lady compatriot? Why can't you have anything that you should have at the ripe age of 33? These things, Shakes.
These a lot, Bucks. Don't downplay it.
I have friends and a big heart.
Yeah. You have friends
it's an enlarged heart.
For you.
It's an enlarged heart. Oversized.
It's a clinical issue.
No, I'm cold as ice, Shakes. You son of a bitch. No, I think I wouldn't call you thin-skinned. I don't think you'd call me thin-skinned.
No, I think we both have our skin. Being that we
have our points,
rail on each other for like 150 episodes or whatever it is, and then decided now do it on a video.
Felt good though.
I think some player. It's such a cop out to say, well, it depends on who it is, but it's like you start thinking about each player. Kind of worked for Ndombele, and I think Lo Celso took fine to Jose, right? I mean, he was Spurs Player of the Year last year, and I know from watching the documentary who was it. Danny Rose obviously did not care for it. Dele did not care for it. I mean, we got to look under the hood a little bit there. So there might be some players where it just did not work, but I mean, I feel like it's got its success stories in Ndombele, in Lo Celso, and some other players. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like those guys but those guys have thick skin. I don't think they're thin skinned guys. They're just going to play well always. Didn't matter who the manager was going to be. That's the way I kind of look at it with those two. So I think it can happen. I mean, I think the wrong team could have been matched with Jose, and then shit goes wrong completely, like just from the jump. Where Spurs had some success, and let's be real, they're still like in a fight for a top 4. They're still in Europa, and they're still going to a cup final at Wembley in April. So I'm actually going to go the other way probably. Then I think it's probably not so much me arguing the Jose side as saying that the players, if maybe they even are thin-skinned, they're smart enough to realize it's Jose trying to get out the best of them. It's not Jose just being a dick to be a dick to them. I think at some point where Jose maybe loses locker rooms is when it does just feel like he's being a dick to be a dick. Like when he's saying like just terrible things about Man U players, and then eventually he just loses the locker room and then he gets canned.
So
that way.
When I read this question, I really look at it like it's more about how quick trigger he is to just yank a guy and that's it. You got to build your way back in there. So I think that mental fragility. Whoa, just had a little. Can you still
what
hear
was
me?
that? Was that a little brownout over there in Tampa?
Are we good? Oh yeah, we just browned out. The ice storms, man.
You guys
it's like 70 degrees outside.
Still partying for the Super Bowl?
Yeah. Oh God.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. That's just shocking to see like my entire world go dark. I thought I might have died for a minute here live on air. Shakes. We do one YouTube pod and I die.
And you croak.
Yeah.
Who's more thin-skinned now?
I don't know. It's kind of poetic. I'd be down with that.
Would you? You don't get to live anymore.
I mean, if that's what it's like, I'm down. Because at that point, I was kind of happy.
It's like the end of The Sopranos.
Yeah. The only sad part is I was looking at you.
Oh, ouch. But it's all right. I took that in stride. See? Thick skin. Thick skin.
Thick boy. I'm going to call you Thick Boy from now on. Thick Boy Shakes. I think it's more that fragility that comes from the fact that players are afraid to make mistakes.
Well, but who's fragile? I want to see.
No, I'm not going to go through and just call players fragile.
I don't want to go name by name, but I guess
they're all fragile.
What I'm saying is like when I read that question too, and originally I was just like, oh, it's yes. Like, millennials just can't handle this old school guy. It's what it is. But then you just start thinking about the players that, I don't want to say the players that matter. That's not the way to say it. But, the really good players that are leaders on the team, Son, Kane, Lo Celso, Ndombele, Højbjerg, Sissoko, Hugo, like you go down the line, they're all buying in with Jose. I mean, where it didn't work is like the Sessegnon, the Jedson, like, those guys though are peripheral to where unless I start seeing them just like balling out at other teams and like being meaningful contributors there, that's where then I'd say, okay, yeah, maybe that was probably a problem. Jose just wasn't resonating with those other younger guys that really were not ever in his plans, but really should have been. So I look at it more that way. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bucks. I've had many nightmares where just it's the start of this season. Spurs have transferred out Ndombele to Man City, and Ndombele is playing for Pep alongside like Gundogan and KDB and just like kicking ass. Like terrifying. Just because like, yeah, him and Ndombele didn't see eye to eye. And that just, I mean, talk about needing to talk to Linda more than 3 times a week. I mean, it would be that. I'd be like, oh, did you see what Ndombele did again today? Just working for Man City. So, I mean, he's also someone that people could have thought was a little bit more fragile on the mental side. And I don't know, him and Jose seem to work it out. Now, I don't know if Jose just recognized his talent, so therefore put in the extra effort. But I mean, that proves that he at least has the wherewithal to try to make sure that he is resonating with those types of players.
Yeah, I think we're like a porcelain vase out there. Ty Hayden asks, is there a glimmer of hope to winning a cup this year? Maybe a Mora hat trick in April.
So we could win a cup because we're already in one final. The quad dream is dead, unfortunately.
Thanks for that breaking news.
Yeah, the quad's dead, guys. Sorry.
All right, that wraps it up, folks. Yeah. So the quad's dead, and so is this pod.
Twist that TT Pod Coys. You never know, Bucks. Europa, it's going to be all dependent on the draw.
Yeah.
And then it'll be that midweek match you have that's sandwiched between 2 huge EPL games. And I think Spurs, I keep going back and forth. Europa is going to be an absolute, maybe the FA Cup thing is going to be a blessing, just not even being it. Because the Europa thing, I think Jose cares about deeply. And just, you're going to see it with the starting lineup being like an EPL quality lineup. And assuming Spurs get just a fair draw, forget like, easy street, like the Carabao Bank Energy Cup draw ended up being. But if it kind of works out that way, I mean, you could be looking at a top 4 campaign along with having Europa League ball along with this Carabao Energy thing. So it's like there's still like a lot in front of Spurs, I guess is the way I kind of look at it. I don't think you're getting 3 I think if you get one, then it turns into that argument. Was it successful? How did it really come about? What was it? Was it top four? Was it Carabao? Was it Europa? The Europa carries the biggest reward, getting you into Champions League. So then if you did finish fifth or sixth in EPL, then, it kind of made up for that. But that's a dangerous game to play, man, to just play knockout stage ball to hope you get into Champions League.
Biggest reward is the semi-truck full of Carabao Bang Energies for the entire
So you're
North London.
You're Bang Energy or bust.
I mean, folks are pretty low on energy these days. We're not getting out and about as much as we used to, and we could use like a truckload of energy drinks.
You calling everyone low T right now?
Possibly low T, but I'm not going to comment on any man's testosterone. What I will comment on is that Carabao Bang Energy trucks backing into N17 would be a brilliant day for the folks.
It'd be a sweet celebration. A lot of Bang Energy getting sprayed about.
Problem is, it's too sticky,
Yeah, well, when you have flavors like watermelon lollipop and
radical skedaddle,
and grape rainbow.
Grape rainbow. How many grapes are in this shit?
The whole rainbow, Bucks.
Taste the rainbow, bitch.
Yeah.
There is a glimmer of hope, Ty.
Would you rather have Europa or top four? I think this is kind of where this question
Europa.
goes, right?
Yeah. Because that's a direct route.
But it's just so easier said than done. It's like, I'd rather have Europa. It's like, all right, you'd rather survive this knockout 32 team, thing where you just win it all. It just seems almost, I don't want to say easier to win or to get to top four, but I don't know. Just more can go wrong in Europa, it feels like. You can just get the draw from hell.
I don't know about that, though. I feel stronger about anybody that we match up with in Europa at this stage than I do with any.
No, I get you. I mean, we're playing
match in the Prem. I really feel that way. Oh, we're playing RZ Pellet Boys.
So Wolfsburger is 6th in the Austrian Bundesliga.
Yeah. But they've won. They haven't lost in 13 matches or something like that. They've lost 1 in 13. They're coming in well.
They're playing well.
I mean, in Austria.
Do they have a set lineup? Do they know their back line yet?
I don't.
After 4 months. Well, I'm just saying.
I couldn't dig their 11 out. I tried for 20 minutes today.
I just meant that in the sense that Spurs don't have that figured out.
No, we don't. But I think anything we put out there, we should get over the line. This should be like a 3-1 match. We should win this easily. RZ Pellet Boys WAC. The old Pellet Boys. I know nothing about them, and it feels like all these other Europa matches where I'm like, where the hell are we going? And now we have to go even further east, more towards Russia, and go to Hungary. So that's good. I would have loved playing in that small stadium there for Wolfsburg, because it's a sweet looking little 7,000 stand pitch, real nice. I love it. I like playing those small things. We've talked about it.
Did you Google Map it? Oh,
are you kidding me? I've been all over Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
Settled, nestled right between two various passes. I mean, it's beautiful. I was down. I was Google Maps guy in it, like dragging my guy over on the map. I was all around that town. I went to the brasserie. It was fantastic, man.
So to give you insight on Wolfsburgers, I don't know, notoriety. Like, I clicked on them on ESPN.com, and the first article, meaning like the most recent, posted about them 5 years ago when they played Chelsea in a friendly from July 2016.
Did you get any intel from it?
Well, tough to say, because who knows who's on the team anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So they're coming in underreported, but that doesn't mean Spurs should take them lightly, because, I mean, if they're a team that plays well together and plays, competitive soccer, and, a Bundesliga, although it's just, everyone probably knows like what, Lask and Salzburg and maybe Vienna. I mean, other than that, you're not going to really probably name many other Austrian Bundesliga teams. Still, though, like, they're a professional team that apparently plays well.
Thursday is when the Pellets make their mark on the world.
Hope not.
I need that login info, by the way.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Cool.
I won't give it to you on live.
I looked all over the because I have the soccer package, so I have all these Spanish-speaking soccer broadcasts, and I usually get every one of the Tottenham Europa games on there. And quite frankly, I love watching it with the Spanish broadcast. It is way better because I can just listen and enjoy all the
Trying to get bilingual?
I have been doing Duolingo for Espanol.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a 36-day streak. I killed it Super Bowl Sunday. It was a bummer. But I'm working on it. I've picked up a lot by watching that.
It's good.
All right, RZ Pellets, what's your 11 look like?
Very similar to Man City, Bucks. I got Kane up top, behind him Sonny, Lucas, but then I'm going Steve instead of Lamella just because of Steve getting the rest against Man City. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sonny come off the bench. I think he's just a warrior, and Jose plays him that way. But Son has played a lot of minutes in the last 6 days. I think it's just Old Faithful. You're going to see Ndombele and Højbjerg in the middle, and then you're going to see Davis on the left, Toby and Dave, and then Tanganga. So I think Dyer is done this game. Toby's going to be asked to play on the left side, even though it's not his favorite side. And then Dave is going to get a nod again. We were talking about this before we went live, but Roden, I guess, is not really a factor in this due to like when the transfer went down and for Europa ball, at least for this stage. So I still got to make sure Tanganga is on that list too. I think he is as well, but that's why I put him on the right side as well, Bucks.
Okay. I have a much different looking lineup. I just think with the sheer amount of minutes that we've had to put in recently, I look for this to be a bit different. I have David, or actually, I'm going to put Reggie on the left just because I have hopes, and I really hope that we get him back in there. So I'm going to go Reggie. Davis just really needs a blow.
Reggie will not start. I will bet you money on this.
My point is, if he's healthy and he's training all week, put him in there. Davis needs a blow. He's running on empty out there.
I think I can see.
Did you not see Raheem Sterling put him in a casket like 3 times in the last 15 minutes of that game?
Yeah, but they don't have Raheem Sterling on the pellets.
I understand that, but Davis is tired. He's in a casket right now. He's not dead. He's just like sleeping.
I can see Reggie coming in for 30 minutes. It's just tough to like ask a guy that's been out for 2 months to start.
I'm putting Reggie in there.
All right.
I got Toby and Sanchez. I wish that Joe Roden was part of our knockout club here or knockout squad. He's not. But I have Toby and Sanchez and then Tanganga on the right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Give Aurier a little bit more time to recover. Hopefully he's fresh for Sunday's match. Then I have Højbjerg and Sissoko. I think Ndombele needs a blow as well. Højbjerg and Sissoko, this is probably a mistake. I wouldn't be surprised to see a shift into kind of like a 4-1-2-3 type of situation, to be honest with you. That wouldn't shock me at all. But for now, I'm going to have Højbjerg and Sissoko just because I think Sissoko is a bit fresher. Then I have Delhi. Give me the man. I want it.
Oh, my God.
I'm back.
Did he even make
he's done nothing. I'm trying to propel the boy from positivity here. Positivity Buck, always been.
This is bad by me. Do we get 5 or 3 subs for this type of match?
I believe it's 5. I have no clue.
I mean, if that's the case, I think lean to the stronger lineup and then just hopefully you're up 2-0 or 3-0, and then that's not going to happen. Is it?
Giving you the strong ass lineup here, Shakes, and you're shitting on it.
Sorry, so, go for it. Go for it.
And then I got Steve on the left, Vin on the right, or Vin in the middle, and Bale on the right. That's the lineup.
Wow. So
yeah, it's wacky.
I'm taking this far more seriously than you are.
I'm taking it seriously, Shakes. I mean, give these guys a shot. They should beat RZ Pellet boys.
So why I like your lineup more than mine, for obvious reasons, because we just can't keep, especially huge game after this. Can we talk about that real quick?
West Ham.
We'll have a podcast between then, but West Ham just won again. They won 3-0. Who they beat? Newcastle, was it? Or Sheffield United? Yeah, that's right. Chelsea beat. But anyway, West Ham's like good, like very good, like top 4 contending good. And Spurs got that match after, what was it? 3-0. Spurs let up 3 goals in the last 12 minutes against West Ham last time they played. And it matters for the top four. Jose cares maybe more about Europa, but I think he's going to try to steal something in this first leg on the road against Wolfsberger, to where then if it's just draw and move on in the second match or whatever it might be, then maybe he can rest his guys for the West Ham match. So maybe I like your lineup a little bit more. I mean, I went strong because I just think it means a lot to Jose, but I started clicking on that schedule box and having a Thursday match with a Sunday turnaround early against West Ham. That might be tough, especially when you have to go to Budapest for this first match and then drive and then fly back to London. So if Spurs can rock out your lineup and get away with it, I'm all in.
I just don't know where the creativity comes from.
Yeah, I don't know how these goals are happening. I mean, it's just going to be set pieces, I assume, right? Just a corner or disjointed ball available in the box.
When Vin outclasses the defenders, he's been awesome. And
Vin's
I think
been good, but he's not been like Vin's not Llorente a couple years ago.
No.
Coming in
Totally different player. Totally different player. He doesn't play with his back to the goal nearly enough to be anywhere.
He should play more that way. I think he's effective that way.
Yeah, but he's got that kind of like playmaker attitude a little bit to him. And I like that personally. It's just he's out of position far too often and he's offside. But if there's any match, like we should outclass them from goal line to goal line. Like they should be outclassed the entire game. If that's the case, I think the lineup I promoted here should work. I think Lamela needs a break. I think Lucas needs a break. So I think this is where Bale, the shimmy shake he put on in the box, it was. Oh,
yeah,
man.
that was the other attempt. That was probably our second.
Can you imagine if you put that in, all of a sudden we're like, you got to start Bale. What are you doing? You're an idiot, Jose.
Yeah, could have been.
Oh, that was so nice, though. Oh, God damn. He almost put that
Spurs played Lask and beat them 3-0, and then remember they tied them 3-3 in that shitty game. Lask just beat this team 3-0. So,
yeah, so let's kill him.
You know, I don't know. I don't like playing the transitive property game, Bucks, but
I think I gave you a very solid defensive set. And then if Delhi can get things straightened out, if Delhi can play a match like he played against Marine, this team is probably far beyond that of Marine. I think we're in good shape there. Bale for me is a guy who needs to score. He needs a run. And then you can always turn to get Lucas in there, Son in there if you really need a goal. So that's my 11. I have Spurs winning this 3-1.
I have Spurs winning 2-1.
Oh, wow. Yeah. With your strong lineup, Shakes.
Well, the hope is they get up 2-0 quick. We pull everyone out for West Ham ahead, and then maybe a goal comes in, but still, you got 2 goals on the road in a 2-leg race.
Okay.
Or 2-leg tie, excuse me.
Yeah, I think it's 3-1 Spurs. Shakes, thank you so much for joining us here on our maiden voyage with our YouTube channel. You can find us on Twitter at TTPodCoys. Thank you all. We've had a consistent audience this entire time. Want to thank all of you for tuning in. Thanks for all you tuning in on your commute or just walking the dog, whatever it might be. We appreciate you. We love you. Again, follow us on Twitter at TTPodCoys. We will be going live for every one of these shows. Love the interaction. Feel free to pop in here. Give us your thoughts. We want to hear from you. Danny Shakes, sign them off.
Let's go. Let's beat Wolfsberger. And come on, you Spurs.
Coys, get it done. Beat RZ Pellet Boys.